Hello guys, welcome back to a brand new video. We're here for the Monaco Grand Prix in this 2020 career mode. We spent some time in Brazil putting up on the gram, but we are here all for the business. What is going to be one of the most interesting qualifications of the season. Of course, Monaco is the hardest qualifying session. You want to do the best you can, but there in the bottom right hand corner you can see it's going to be a wet race, which means we can go all out for qualifying, but at the same time, we've got to be very cautious with our setup. Looking at the graph there, you can see we've made some hefty gains. Toro Rosso definitely haven't. They're not even on there, but Williams have made a lot of gains. Renault's actually done pretty well in terms of how they're doing. Mercedes and Ferrari a little bit off, as we currently sit fourth. We've got a power upgrade coming for the Canadian Grand Prix, which is the one thing that we are looking forward to. Hopefully trying to get some more power into the engine of this car, and you never know what could happen. But again, Toro Rosso really need to pick up the pace, and engine I suppose is a good enough place to start as any. But the sunshine here in Monaco for practice sessions and the qualifying, it was definitely nice to even get to see that for a little bit before it absolutely belt us down with rain when it comes to qualifying. But Lucas Weber, definitely one of the favourites to get pole. Gasly could be in and around there because of, you know, given the fact that the Red Bull's really good in slow speed corners, so we could see Gasly up there. Renault, you never know, they may have an opportunity to maybe sneak in a position, but it'll be definitely hard to tell until we actually get down to qualifying and stuff like that. But Devin Butler, a man who unfortunately for himself didn't get a second place in the first Monaco Grand Prix we did in the first season of career mode, but jumping straight into Q2, I made an error, which was obviously my bad, that we didn't actually record the first qualifying session. So it'll be interesting for you to see come the end of the qualifying report who's at the bottom, but obviously you'll probably get an idea if you pay attention to these screens here. So currently in this session, both Ferraris out, which obviously isn't good, and then the McLaren and the Haas, and it's just not gone well for Magnussen. But we have Kubica into Q3, which I think is amazing. Like, that's absolutely quality that Williams has upgraded the car to the point where they can actually compete in qualifying around Monaco. It's obviously a very high downforce circuit. But come to the end of our first run in qualifying, we're going to come across the line and hopefully set a good enough time, and it's good enough for P1 or provisional pole as it seems. So Raikkonen obviously currently P2. It'll be interesting to see if he can actually try and overtake us, or where Lucas Weber is. Weber isn't even in the top 3 currently, but we're going to come across the line. We set a purple sector 1, green sector 2. We're going to come across the line and again go even faster, and still no sign of Lucas Weber. We've set an overall new lap record. We don't have enough time to complete the lap, but definitely bagged that as we're going to come across the line any second. I want to see if Gasly is in need of a bit of a slipstream. He's made it into Q3, which is amazing. So I'm going to give him a bit of a tow down the start-finish straight, hopefully improve his qualifying time. Now we see where we are, full qualifying. P2. I mean, it's the same old with this game. It's just one of those things we kind of have to just accept at this point, that coming down to the last second of qualifying, the session ends and someone's just going to beat us. But of course, there we go. Alfa Romeo on the front row. Lando Norris obviously won this race last time out in season 1, but no surprises for which Alfa Romeo decided to sling it on pole, considering he was nowhere in the session up until like obviously the very last second. But Lucas obviously got pole position from ourselves, and we're kind of in an Alfa Romeo sandwich more or less. So Hulkenberg's joining me there, so P3 for Hulkenberg. He could be good for his podium. Devin Butler P5, Kubica P7, which is a very good showing. The slipstream down the start finish rate did not help Gasly out one bit, as we can actually have a look. See, he got eliminated. Kevin Magnussen and Max Verstappen P15 and P16, followed by the 2 racing points and then the 2 Toro Rossos. It's almost like a 2x2 at this point, especially for this race. But of course, being a wet race, it's going to be one stint. And it's going to be interesting to see what kind of pace we have. I'm very intrigued because jumping out of what's going on since the last wet race we had, I believe in Germany, they actually patched it in where the AI are a bit more, not super OP, like they're a lot better than they were compared to the pre-patch. As we go through the formation, like we can see, if it wasn't for Norris, there'd be 4 teams 2x2, but Verstappen down in 16th. You wouldn't have put your money on that happening at this point in the season. Lewis Hamilton with the Senna crash helmet tribute for this race. He's down there P6, which ain't a bad position. Maybe he can get up in a few places through the first few corners, but obviously this man here about to come onto your screen any second now. There he is. Lucas Weber is definitely looking like a title contender if he can continue his form, and looks like someone going to be fighting all season long for sure. But we're ready here for the 5 lights to go out in Monaco in the wet. We are underway, and it is super slippery as we get a little bit of a wheel spin. Not as much as I'm sure some cars behind us. We're going to tuck into Lucas here as we actually get a bit sideways coming through turn 1, so that's never a good sign. Raikkonen has made it up into P3, so we are definitely in an Alfa Romeo sandwich, and there goes Hulkenberg's podium. Weber is incredibly slow through this section of the circuit. We had to go way offline just to avoid hitting him at that point. So Lucas, early stages, doesn't look very comfortable. We're going to see if we can capitalise on that a little bit as we try and make our way through this race and keep it out the barriers. But looking at a replay of the start, we've got Williams in the middle of everything. It's again all 2x2 through here, apart from Gasly's on his own, but the Williams definitely does look like it's a bit of punch up the hill against the Mercedes there. Can't help but feel that the Mercedes might actually get him down the inside, but in fact no, he actually beats the Mercedes, which is quite interesting. But we're up behind Lucas, who's coming towards the end of lap 1. You can see we're almost nudging him round the corner because of how slow he's going through some of these really slow-ish corners. Like it's very weird. Like he's got such better acceleration than us in this and these conditions, but he's definitely performing a little bit better. On lap 2, we have a massive moment and we almost go into the side of Lucas. We're obviously going to slow down and let him regain the lead there, but we just completely lost everything under braking and aquaplaned, and we did a pretty good job to miss him. But very similar to the end of the first lap, on the end of lap 3, we're getting such a better drive into that corner and out of it that may be where we could make a move on Lucas. He's not getting away. We're slowly pulling a gap to Raikkonen. But coming here on lap 5, we've got purple again, and we're going to go all the way around the outside. It's not going to work, but we're going to get tremendous traction here, and there might be a gap. We're going to go down the inside here into the final corner. It's going to be very tight here between ourselves, and we managed to get on the power so much earlier. I believe he rode the curb up the wall. We're going to have to see from a better angle here. He's very slow from here, so at this point, I figured we could go around the outside, but we just didn't have it. So obviously getting at a more of an acute angle, we got better traction out, and we managed to actually get it past Lucas. And it was very lucky he didn't get the place taken by Raikkonen. But it's definitely very touch and go. I'm not sure Lucas has any damage prior to this. I can't see why he would, but at the same time, he is going incredibly slow. And this is a great shot here. So you can see we try from that angle there, doesn't quite work. So we're going to come down the inside here, and no contact between ourselves. Yeah, he definitely does ride the curb a little bit there to get out of the way. But other than that, we started to pull out a gap rather quickly to Weber. He was obviously holding up Raikkonen. Raikkonen didn't really want to pass, probably crashed into his teammate. He set a fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So it's definitely an interesting one for sure. Moving on to lap 14, we focused on George Russell here, which obviously it's never good if we're focusing on a car for no reason. And you can see he's going slow and he's being overtaken by cars left and right, and there's a flag been dropped, and that can only mean one thing, and that's George Russell is out of the Monaco Grand Prix, which is obviously super upsetting. But this man here has got some front wing damage, so he and the Toro Rosso are trailing around the back of the grid doing absolutely nothing. We move on to lap 19, such a long way ahead, and if you can see, look at the gap, almost 15 seconds. I'm convinced at this point Lucas has damage of some sort, and he's just holding up Raikkonen because there's no way that pace is his actual pace. We do a sub 2 second pit stop, so shout out to the boys for an amazing stop there. But obviously we're going to get passed by a few people here, and you can see how we can do. But it's definitely interesting to say the least that obviously there's some damage. It's going to be close to Hulkenberg. We actually locked up a little bit there, so we had to almost go off. And we got a warning, luckily, so that wasn't a penalty, which could have hampered us maybe later on and stuff like that. But for sure, it's definitely interesting to see Lucas's struggles at the Grand Prix. He's going to come into the pit lane now and see what's going to happen with him. He's going to change the front wing. So yeah, he definitely did have damage. It's going to be interesting to see what he does. He's going to lose so much time in the pit lane. He gets held up by the Renault and the Mercedes of Hamilton, and then Raikkonen as well. He's going to be a little bit slow. He's going to be held by a Renault as well. So it's really not worked out well for these Alfa Romeo boys. Hulkenberg actually jumped him, so that could mean a potential P3 position for Hulkenberg. There was a McLaren going past, which could be Devon Butler. It is. So Butler looks like he's in P2, and Hulkenberg is going to get out ahead of Bottas, which will then put Hulkenberg in P3. Yeah, indeed. So although at the beginning of this I said that Hulkenberg's podium's gone, Hulkenberg has somehow managed to make his way back up into P3, and Devon Butler trying to get redemption maybe for what happened last season here at Monaco. We set another fastest lap, so we're just improving, and it'll be interesting to see our pace compared to Butler and see how the gap goes. But lap 21, we've got a Haas, a Racing Point, and a Toro Rosso. So there's a very slow chance that Max Verstappen's going to have a problem here, because those guys were miles off, and yeah, Verstappen slowing down the start-finish straight. So Verstappen has also come a cropper to Monaco here. It looks like it's just a simple engine failure, very similar to Russell. So that's a Mercedes car and a Ferrari car that's powered by their engines, and they've both stopped. So that's obviously not good. But coming on lap 23, you can see we've got not much of a fight for the positions, you know. Obviously Russell's out, Verstappen is out as well. So it's interesting for sure to see how this goes, but it's definitely a tricky race, and everything's going off and kicking off a little bit. But it's been a pretty simple race for ourselves. We've obviously got a gap, and we just kind of went with it. Gasly's still in the points, which is obviously handy for us, and also one of the Ferraris in the points, which is good for them. But Renault are the standouts here in P3 and P4. So yeah, definitely interesting how they managed to do that. Obviously they're good pace in qualifying, but to actually get into that position, Hamilton's actually stayed where he was, and Raikkonen's dropped down a little bit, obviously losing that time to the Renault in the pit lane as well. So obviously he's not very happy bunny. But I'm going to come across the line in a minute, and it looks like we're going to set another fastest lap, and we'll be able to actually check the gap to Devon Butler. And I can tell you myself, like, the gap stayed where it was at around about 20 seconds or so. Like, we didn't gain any time, we didn't lose any time. It was kind of run about on our pace. We almost go into the barrier, we locked up again on entry, and there is a Toro Rosso going into the wall. So we're behind him with blue flags. He's going to let us past. I don't see him fighting what I believe is Lance Stroll or Sergio Perez, one of the two, but we've been stuck behind him for over a lap. Like, this is ridiculous. It is Lance Stroll indeed, the man with the front wing damage, and he's just not let us pass. So by this point, he's accumulated about 10 seconds worth of penalties because he hasn't let us pass, and we have to go the long way around here just to get past him, which is a bit ridiculous, as it's just not on, really. Like, he's just obviously got 10 seconds worth of penalties for no reason, and he just essentially made his Grand Prix even worse. But we managed to survive Monaco wearing the heel helmet, which I think is quite fitting, as we come across the line to claim our second win of the season. And this one was probably by far the easiest Grand Prix we're going to win throughout our career, most likely. Like, there was no challenge really because of Lucas's damage. Otherwise it could have been a very different race for sure. But again, we don't care about the fundamentals. We're just happy that we won the race, and we did it in style with this helmet. But there he is in the background. Nico Hulkenberg has got his first podium in Formula 1. Now that is absolutely amazing. Robert Kubica getting out of the car. He should be happy with the P7. It's not bad. It's not great, but for sure it could be better. But this podium is definitely interesting. Two Brits and a German. Devon Butler on the second step of the podium. It would have been super cool if we had a Rabe on the podium as well. That would be an amazing podium for all three of the F2 cars. But definitely going to celebrate that victory in style, and there'll probably be a post to Instagram about it as well. We'll come and see that next video. But it's hard to take that as like a proper win, to win in such dominance as well. Not on just out and out pace, but more specifically just there was a problem for the other guy. But there are the full results. Pierre Gasly still making it in the points. Literally nothing changed. There was like no overtakes in the Grand Prix, only through the pit stops. So what you would have seen before would have been how it finished. It's a bit difficult, like, to accept that we've got that kind of pace. Obviously we don't. It was just quite lucky how that happened. But Lewis Hamilton moves up in the driver's standings, dropping Verstappen down. Devon Butler up into P7 in the championship, which is pretty good. And then Pierre Gasly moving down to Bottas, 2 points trailing him. And then Constructor stays the same. Obviously, we're 1 point off of 100 points, but nothing in terms of movement there. You can see we're finally going to beat our rivalry with Pierre Gasly here. George Russell will probably be the next Grand Prix, if I'm not mistaken. So overall, not a bad weekend for the Monaco Grand Prix. We did very well, and it was just kind of a matter of time until we got a break. And coming into a race that I love, which is the Canadian Grand Prix, with the car we've got, with the upgrades coming, it's definitely going to be interesting. We actually failed that because I just couldn't be bothered with the R&D stuff around here and in Spain. I think it was wet practice in Spain, but nonetheless, we're getting close to the veteran status, which is quite interesting how quick we've done that. But for sure, it's going to be one of those things that if we struggle in Canada, it's going to put us on the back foot. But if we can get a good race, if we can even get a back-to-back win, I'm not sure when the last time that happened, so we're going to have a look at that and see if we can get a statistic for that. But nonetheless, that's been it for the Monaco Grand Prix. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. If you have, please slap a like on it. It really does help me out a lot. And if you're new around there, please subscribe for more Formula 1 content coming out every other day or so. Anyway, that's been it for me, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.